Welcome to another episode of Information Return Intelligence, the fast-moving weekly podcast where we talk about all things related to 1099s, 1042s, the W-9, etc., etc. This week we're going to go back to the $600 threshold. We all know about the $600 threshold, and by now we probably know it's changing to $2,000 for many items such as contract labor. But what do we mean when we say you've crossed the threshold and need to issue a form? How do you know when you've reached $600 and need to send a form, or $2,000 in 2026? How do you know? Let's talk about that side of things. So we'll start by using, I guess, like big accountancy words here. You report your totals based on the cash method and the calendar year. Now, that's really easy for someone who works in the industry as a tax pro to use those kinds of terms. But what does that mean? It means you're looking at what you actually paid, not what was invoiced to you, but what did you actually pay from January 1st through December 31st. That can include checks that you wrote during the year, even if the other party, like your contractor, hasn't cashed the check yet on their side. You write a check in December and your contractor is on vacation and they don't take it to the bank until January. That's still an item that you count for 1099s in the year you wrote the check. And so, what that means is, depending on your organization's method of accounting and your fiscal year, what you put on your organization's tax return may well be different from what you put on the 1099s that your organization issues. So there's an article that I put out on Substack that has some examples. It's hard to walk through in this format examples too much, but let's give it a try. So December 15th of 2025, you're given an invoice by your contractor for $1,000 for services your contractor rendered in 2025. And you are a business that always closes for a couple of weeks around the holidays, so you didn't get around to paying that invoice till January of 2026. And in the remainder of 2026, you made ACH transfers of $15,000 to this same contractor. And in December of this year, the contractor sends you an invoice for $1,500 that you pay in 2027. Your 2025 1099 will not include the $1,000 invoice that you received from your contractor in December of 2025 because you didn't pay it till 2026. Same thing with the December of 2026 invoice. You didn't pay it till 2027, so it's a 2027 item for 1099 purposes. Again, this could be very different from what your deduction for contract labor looks like on your organization's tax return. For example, in particular, if you use the accrual method of accounting, your outcome on your tax return will be different from what you're showing on the 1099. But that's how you do it for these dollar thresholds, or really, what number do you put on the 1099? I guess it's really, how do you determine if you've crossed the threshold, and then how do you determine what amount to put on the 1099? It's cash method and calendar year. Thanks for joining us on Information Return Intelligence. I'm Jason Dinesen. Join us again next week for another episode.